Well, greetings. Here we are again. Betty Frick and Bruce Armstrong. We are volunteers with the Senior Computer Tech Center associated with the Longmont Senior Center in Longmont, Colorado. And this is a whole series on all the little interesting things you can, not all, but some of the main things you can do with Google and what they offer us on a free basis with their universe of stuff. And we're concentrating right now on Google Docs, which is their word processor, which competes with various and sundry other word processors. And what we're going to go through today, let me share my screen really quickly here. It shows where we are in this process. We've gone through some introductions and basics and creating documents and editing documents. And today we're going to talk about the uploading and downloading of documents. And related to that is importing and exporting documents from other apps. So that's where I'm going to go today. And so let me just, again, we can just get right into this, and I'll go back and kind of remind everybody how you get to Google's stuff is that you end up in the google.com web, URL. You can get there very easily, and you have to sign in, and I'm signed in. You can see my B there, and I go into this little 3x3 thing, and I can go to get our faces out of the way here on my screen, but I can go down to Google Docs and go in that way, or alternatively, I prefer to go into Google Drive, which is where all the things are stored, because there's one thing I really want to do first. Where is it? I can't find it. There it is. They put it in different places when you're on different machines. It can be very frustrating. So here's my Google Drive. And I've got some things in here, and I'm going to use, I want to import a document. And my main computer, I use the Microsoft Word app. And I'm going to bring one of those documents in here, but I have to get where I want it to be first. That's why I say go into Google Drive first. That way I can go into this folder. I'm going to go into this test folder, and that's where I'm going to deposit this thing that I import from my computer. So here's what's up here on the Google Drive is I've got a PDF file here in this folder, but this is kind of the way you get into things. You go up here on the upper left-hand corner to the New button in Drive, and one of the drop downs is File Upload. And it's as simple as that. Then it brings you back kind of to your computer, and you have to navigate to somewhere where you want to be. And I'm going to be in my Documents file, and I'm going to go down here to some thing that I picked out earlier here. Where did it go? Conflict resolution here. This is, you can see the W on here. That's a Word file. And if I just click on that and then say open, you'll see down in the right-hand corner, it says that it completed the upload very quickly. And now that file is here. And if you see, it is still this extender at the end of the file name, the docx, indicates that it's in Microsoft Word format. So you can import and export files, keeping it in that format. That's one of the things that's a kind of a benefit of Google Docs, is that it recognizes this as a Microsoft Word document. And if I just double click on it, it will open it in Google Docs. And it's just an outline of something probably that I did years ago. I don't really even know what this is, but it was just a document. It comes in, and it still has up here, as we decided in the last section, you have to name your file. And this one is named Conflict Resolution and Consensus Building. And it has in blue here that it is a .docx file. Now, if I want to now download that file, I have a choice then, and this gets into the second half kind of, is how you export something to something else. When I'm in this one, I can keep it that way. I can keep it in a Microsoft Word document and download it that way. There's something called an open document format, which is used in several things, but LibreOffice is one of the free versions of word processors. A rich text, and here's another one. You can make it into a PDF and could download it as a PDF. So exchanging documents back and forth is really very easy. But the one thing to remember, and this is pretty important, is that when I want to save as Google Docs, that's one of your options under the file dropdown, is save as Google Docs. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to save that as Google Docs. Now it's still there, but instead of having the .docx up here, it got rid of that because it's a Google Docs format. And now if I go back to my test folder, oh boy, now I can't remember, that should have been in here. I think it put it in my drive. Let's see where it put it. I don't see it. Thought it should be in this test folder. Maybe you have to, yes, you have to refresh it. Sorry. Bruce is beyond a little bit. The little refresh button up here, this little circle is a thing that I should have clicked on and it would have refreshed it. And now you look in that folder, there's a conflict resolution and consensus building .docx, which you still have the Word format if you want to keep it that way, or you keep it in the Google Docs format, which doesn't have an extender. And you can't actually send that to someone in that format. You can share it with them. That's the important part of what we're doing here, is that I can now take this document and over here on the upper right-hand side, there's a little person with a plus sign on it. That's your share capability. And this is one of the things that you got to get used to in the Google universe, is that right now, I can just add people to this list. I can add Betty's name to this list. And if I say send, first of all, before I get a little farther, you've got an option here. Is I gave her that it automatically says editor. I can make it to where she can only view it. She can't mess with it.
You don't trust me? Huh, Bruce.
Well, I've been around the block a few times, but I know that I would trust you. But you could be a commenter, which allows you to insert comments, but not actually change the basic stuff in the document. Or I can give you full editing things. Now, this is another thing. I could send this to her. I'm not going to do that right now because I don't want to clutter up her email. But down at the bottom of this, you can change this to say, I want anyone with the link to be able to look at this, or only people that I allow. You can restrict it that way. So that's the way you can share things. But back to one really important point is that whenever you're doing something, uploading, downloading, whatever, you want to be in the folder that you're in, because it gets really interesting when you say, I want to take this file, for example, and now I want to do something with it. What do I want to do? Well, I open it. To be able to move that to another place, there's nothing in here that allows me to move it. I can make
You
a
can't-
copy of it.
Yeah, so you can't save as like you can in a
No.
Microsoft document.
Exactly. You cannot
Okay.
save as and put it in
Ah.
another thing.
Hmm.
But you can right click on it and there's a move to.
Oh,
When the file is open, you can't do anything with it, but I could move this to another location by the right click tends to be one of the most powerful things you can do in computerese. And so it's always a good thing to check. And so if I wanted to move this one to somewhere, I'd say where? Okay, I'm going to go back up here to my main drive. And I'm going to say, let's put this just in, well, let's put it in.
no, it's in folder test.
I know, but I'm trying to
Oh.
get to the subfolder.
Oh,
I'm going to put it in the
Got it.
subfolder and I'm
Cool.
going to move it there.
aha.
So there's a lot of things that when you move from one universe to another, when you move from Microsoft Word to Google Docs, there's a lot that's the same, but there's some things that are just kind of not as intuitive if you've been using Microsoft Word for like as long as probably Betty and I have.
100
now,
years.
if I go to the subfolder, there it is there.
There you go.
So there are lots of things you can do with it. The other thing that's interesting is that you can take what seems like just a text document and bring that in to here. So if you had a text document that you wanted to upload, and I'm not sure whether I have any in here, but I'm going to look really quickly. There's one thing I've always remembered. Can you bring a PDF file in? And what does it do with it? So here's the cover letter, brings in a PDF. What can I do to it?
How much?
Nope, open with
Oh,
Google Docs.
oh, cool.
And let's see what it does. This is going to be a surprise. So it's converting a PDF file.
Cool, cool, cool.
So there is some import and export capabilities. And yeah, see, it brings it in. It's not going to get all of the formatting correctly.
No.
But at least if you have a, you don't want to read all that stuff.
Ah,
So anyway, that's the import and export capabilities are really good in this particular Google Docs, kind of better than in Microsoft Word. You can save it or print it as a PDF, but I do not think you can open a PDF in Microsoft Word. So
no. I can tell you, at least from my experience, you can't do that.
yeah, okay, well, it's my experience as well, but I know that sometimes Word in the new versions in Microsoft 365, they've got some new stuff, but I haven't really looked at that very well. And I always had the trouble that when I was working with this stuff, that we had to have a full copy of the Adobe Acrobat to be able to really mess with PDFs, to edit them.
Yes, and that
But-
costs a lot of money.
Yeah, it does. It does. So that's kind of the basics. Have you got any questions, Betty?
Yeah, so I've seen how to get the documents in, but what if I'm working in Word and I want to save it as, and then can I save it? Can I work from the Word angle to get that into my drive?
Not really.
I didn't think so.
The only way you could do that is by bringing it in here
Yeah.
from this. You have to import it. You cannot
Okay.
be in Word on your computer
Okay.
and export it to your Google Drive.
Okay.
You have to upload it from the
Right.
Google Drive.
Could
that's
you
one of
run? Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say that's one of the most frustrating parts about learning this
Yes.
is that you have to kind of think from that purpose that you're in the Google Drive.
And real quickly, just refresh my memory because it's a weak memory. How do I get the document in here to begin with? I have to go.
You go to the New button.
There you go.
And you say File Upload.
Upload. Okay, got it.
And that brings up something you're probably used to, which is the Windows File Explorer, and you go through that and find the file and then upload it. And it's a pretty quick process.
It's so simple.
Well, yeah, it's simple, but
once you know.
Yes. Okay. Well, I appreciate your attendance on this, and I hope it's been helpful. And we'll just get on the next set of documents. I'm going to get into the Google Sheets, which is the spreadsheet version of Google's Excel spreadsheet or whatever. So take care.
Thanks, Bruce.